Welcome back to a Timey-Wimey Pod, where we watch every episode of Doctor Who from 2005 onwards. My name's Rebecca.
My name is Haley.
And today we are discussing the reality war. Haley, how are you feeling?
I have never crashed out so hard after a Doctor Who episode. And before we say anything more, if you have listened to any of our previous episodes, you know, we have a typical format here we love. We get into talking about fantastic facts about the episode, behind the scenes stuff. Then we ease our way talking about the episode and do reviews at the end. Instead of that, this is going to be a recorded crash out after our initial
live
crash out.
Therapy.
Truly a live therapy session. We have so much to say. When I tell you I crashed out and Rebecca crashed out, you're just lucky you weren't there.
Yeah. Usually we will not say anything about the episode to each other until we can record, but oh no, we had to talk about everything before recording.
Oh yeah, we absolutely did. And I think we should really start off this episode with talking about a certain picture. So a couple days ago, by the way, we're recording this the day after the reality war premiered. So a couple days ago, before the finale was up, on Disney Plus, there was this image of 15 and Belinda where it looked like they were in this club setting, and nowhere in the finished, or should I say published episode of the reality war was any scene depicting them in a bar or partying in it at all. Rebecca, do you want to share what that image is allegedly from, according to a leaker?
So allegedly, that is from the alternate ending of this episode, where the Doctor does not regenerate. I don't really know what happens, but somehow they all end up at the club, as one does. And who was going to be at said club watching them all ominously? Susan Foreman.
Mm-hmm. As in his granddaughter, Susan. And Ruby and Belinda and 15. We're all going to be partying it up, celebrating May Day.
Release the cut! Release the cut!
Release the cut. Something else I want to say here at the beginning is I want to make it so clear neither one of us is actually criticizing Ncuti Gatwa, Millie Gibson,
never.
or Virata Sethu.
No.
No actor in this episode or in this entire series or show, even including Billie Piper, we're not talking about them personally at all.
So there for weeks have been rumors about Ncuti Gatwa leaving at the end of the season, that he was going to regenerate. And we have talked about this rumor a lot off mic. And we did not believe it for a sec. We were so against this theory. It's not even, we refused to even entertain the possibility. To us, it was not an option.
Yeah, wasn't even like a possibility in our minds, because traditionally in the past, even if they tried to do a surprise regeneration, there's always a major leak. And there were alleged leaks and rumors that Billie Piper would pop up at the end. I'm not going to say she's the Doctor, because I am not claiming that.
Yeah.
She's not the 16th Doctor, you guys. There's something timey-wimey happening. But traditionally, there's been a massive leak to where the BBC had to confirm it before it even happened. Did not happen at all.
Yeah, this this is a lot. Having a surprise regeneration, I don't like it. I don't like surprises. I need warning. And maybe the rumors should have been warning, but again, I didn't believe them. I was in complete denial. And you know what? I don't think it's crazy that we were in denial, because this is so clearly not the original intended ending. 15's story is not done. There are so many aspects from his era and his story that still need to be told. Everything with Rogue, Susan, the boss, there were so many more stories to tell with this Doctor, which is partly why this regeneration is so painful. It's too soon. It's not enough time. If you guys have listened to any of our 15 episodes, you know how much we love this Doctor and how big of a fan we've been of this Doctor. So to lose him in this way, it's just so shocking. And what did you think about how they handled the regeneration? Besides, without all the Billy, of it all. Let's put a pin in that for now.
Okay, Billy aside, before I even saw Billy's face, I did not like this regeneration. Like, I literally sat there watching him start to regenerate, and I'm like,
Yeah.
where the heck did this even come from? This came out of left field. Act 1 of this episode is so totally different than Act 2. I was still
Oh
so
yeah.
confused with Poppy. I'm like, what the heck did you do to Belinda and her character? Which we'll get to that.
Oh, we will get to
Why
that.
are you not? Look, okay, there's been criticism in the past. I don't care. I love a good farewell tour.
Mm-hmm.
15 didn't say goodbye to anyone, and he has Joy to the world, the star being with him. No,
No.
no one cares that
No.
much about Joy. And why? And again, it's not shooty because I loved when he said, man, this has been a joy. And I love that line because you can tell that he
Mm-hmm.
truly meant that. But like you said, there are just so many loose threads, and it's like I saw someone on Twitter point this out. It's like, yes, with the Ninth Doctor with Christopher Eccleston, we also had a very short tenure with him.
Mm-hmm.
But he had 13 episodes, and in those 13 episodes, it felt like a very complete story where it made total sense
Yeah.
why he regenerated. And even though, yes, there was like some loose threads that carry through the rest of RTD1, at the end of the day, it still felt completed. And although for a lot of viewers, especially first time viewers, it was out of left field, it wasn't in this way because the regeneration that happened in the reality war literally looked like they scrambled last minute. And you know what?
Mm-hmm.
None of this makes sense for this doctor.
No. It was just handled so poorly, and I don't want to speculate too much on like behind the scenes drama because we'll never really know what went
Right.
down. But this is just like concern. Like there was something weird going on. Like this just wasn't supposed to happen. Like I do not blame Inchuji for leaving at all. He has a promising career ahead of him, and this show takes a lot to make, even if they're only doing 8 episodes in a special. It takes a
Mm-hmm.
lot out of people, but this just like it wasn't supposed to go down this way. There's so much more story to tell, so many threads from this era that we'll never see resolved, and it's just really disappointing to see him leave so soon. This doctor had so much more story in him, so much more potential. It's so clear that this was tacked on last minute because otherwise there's so many other moments earlier in the season where it's just like it doesn't make sense. The story, like I keep thinking about the scene in Interstellar with Kid. It's like if we knew we were heading towards regeneration, like that scene is even worse than it already was. It's so crazy that this is how we're ending it.
Exactly. I think there are a million and one different ways that RTD could have written this to be more cohesive or to make more sense, to like have more of an emotional impact to really honor this doctor. Like, say, because we don't know, maybe Millie Gibson wasn't available, and neither was Verada to do potential reshoots. Okay, but there's still ways to like honor them, and it just felt like he left them to the side. And there was a lot in Act 2 of this episode where I felt the doctor was very out of character, like gas,
Mm,
not gaslighting Ruby because he didn't remember Poppy disappearing, but just I don't know. He didn't feel like himself, and it was just such
yeah.
this abrupt shift. And that's what's frustrating.
It's just
I'm
sad.
just
It's just sad to
disappointed.
see such a great doctor treated this way and treated so terribly and really getting so little time because he is such a great actor and has been such a great doctor. So it sucks to see this is how it ends.
Yeah, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn because for all I know, the war between the land and the sea can turn out to be one of the
Gosh.
best spin-off like TV shows ever. Like, I don't know, guys. Maybe it will turn out to be iconic and classic and like the new Torchwood. I don't know. But what I'm disappointed in is that Disney Plus, approved an allotted amount of episodes, which included the spin-off. And it's like if there was no spin-off, they could have had more confirmed time for Shooty to stay
Mm.
on to tie up those threads. Even a special. And there's none of that. And everything is so up in the air because RTD, look, you have done so much for the show. But season 1, with Shooty obviously didn't pay off because
Yeah.
it wasn't the best. The
Yeah.
resolution was really what killed it.
When did he forget how to write an ending? Like, what? Why are these endings?
End of time part 2. Well,
I
no,
already know the.
I say everything before end of, like, everything before David's regeneration, because I like his regeneration in End of Time, but it's like the
Yeah.
actual plot of the episodes is a little cray cray.
Yes. But just like the end, I don't. These endings are so
Bad.
bad, and the fact that these episodes, the reality war and Empire of Death, really mirror each other, like unit, CGI, villain. It just everything
Oh
gets
my.
wrapped up
Mm.
way too quickly. It's just crazy. It's just crazy that this is how. It's just so obvious that this all happened last minute. And I'm so upset that we don't get any proper closure with Ruby, because let's be honest, we're probably not going to see Ruby again. Like, they're not going to bring Ruby back. They're not going to bring Belinda back. And it's just really sad. It's really sad. I think there was so much more potential for these characters. This whole cast deserved at least one more season. So to just have these stories cut short, have the time of these actors and characters cut short, it's just really, really disappointing. The only good part of this ending, of this like last, what, 15 minutes,
Yeah,
was Jodie Whittaker.
you guys, I do agree with Rebecca because that scene was actually really great. I did not expect that. I was so excited and
Yeah.
happy, and she felt so much like the Doctor, and it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing what happens when different people write for the 13th Doctor. But you're right, like that scene was really great, and I loved that. I love that Jodie got to come aboard and, her say to him, like, a very timey-wimey thing. We got another
Mm-hmm.
name drop. Like, that
Love
was
it.
such a great, like, touching scene between two variations of the Doctor, and I just love that,
Mm-hmm.
especially because we didn't have that, like, proper handoff from
Yes.
Jodie to Shooty. So I did really enjoy that, and that's the bright spot of the end of this episode.
Yeah, it was great to see Jodie again. She really slipped back into the role of the 13th Doctor so
Yeah.
seamlessly. And yeah, seeing these two doctors interact in particular was very healing. It was great. I love that whole scene. And the 15th Doctor saying, like, I don't want to go yet. And 13 saying, that's how it always is. We never want to go. It's just so painful. But the last 15 minutes of this episode is really just trying to convince the audience that it's okay that he's leaving. And I'm not okay. I'm not okay with it.
Not okay with it at all. And, I did have again, bringing up the Ninth Doctor, and this is the last time, I swear, because I don't want this to be a comparison thing. But, like, yeah, of course, like, I was upset and I crashed out with Eccleston regenerating.
Yeah.
Not like this.
No.
Not like this.
This is somehow 10 times worse. I think just overall, like, the reason behind the Ninth Doctor's regeneration is so much more meaningful than this, because
Yes.
this is kind of dark what they do to Belinda. And again, we'll pin it for now, but it's like, why are we doing this? This is like actually insane.
And, like, Act 1 literally opens up, like, I mean, like, the Time Hotel opens up to save 15, and Anita is there, and she's pregnant, and I love that. Like, I loved the whole thing with her opening different doors, and we see Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor,
Yes.
and then the door of 15 in Rogue, and Anita gets the hint, which was so funny, and she's so real for that.
So real.
So real. That was really funny. And I love that we see, like, the continuation of Anita and that she's coming back. And now we know why Stephen Moffat had to look at the finale script, which I really want to read the original finale script Moffat
Oh,
read.
stop.
And so I loved the beginning of this episode, and for it to start off so promising and, like, lead up to, like, this whole reality war between Unit and the Rani and Conrad was just really great. We get a shout out for Martha Jones in the year 2025 with Project Indigo, the little, like, teleport backpack. Ruby has on,
Hmm.
that was featured originally with Martha Jones all the way back in, was it Stolen Earth or Journey's End?
Stolen Earth.
Okay. But like in that multi-part story. And so
Yeah.
like I really liked that shout out.
No, that was great. At least Martha Jones gets something. Let's talk about Belinda, shall we?
We shall.
Okay, so the fact that Belinda's whole story just gets rewritten is actually terrifying. Like, how are we considering this a happy ending for her? Her whole life that she had before has been erased and is gone. Like, how did you feel about that?
Confused, and honestly I'm still a bit confused about it, and usually me and Rebecca will rewatch episodes before we record. We cannot stomach rewatching this episode. The trauma is too fresh right now.
It's too much.
So there's still a little bit unclear, and maybe like another rewatch would clarify some points, but I left watching Wish World really confused because I'm like, is Belinda back to herself, or is she like Mother Belinda now, like with Poppy as her kid? And I was still very confused throughout this whole story before her ending even came. And the ending that we got just really puzzled me because it's not the fact that she's a mother. That's not the thing. It's that that wasn't something that was her life before.
Yeah, and we're just okay with her story being completely rewritten and her life being completely changed. I keep saying it. What happened to the girl in the robot revolution who got mad at the
Yeah.
doctor for scanning her DNA? Like, where is she? And she has just been completely lost. And now she's been completely rewritten. Her whole life has been rewritten. Her old life is gone, never existed. It's insane. It's if this was anyone else, this would be like a dark ending for their character.
Especially because it's not what she chose. The doctor chose it for her.
Hmm.
And like, yes, they wanted to save Poppy, and yes,
Yeah.
Poppy is important, but why? But also, why? At the same time, because Poppy was originally a space baby. And so I'm like so confused. Is Belinda as a mother the original reality or a new reality? Has this been the whole thing all along? It's so confusing because it's such like a tremendous shift. That's why it's confusing and not clear. And why I'm going back and forth from thinking like, oh, is this an alternate reality, to oh no, 15 chose this for her, because I just
It's
don't
just
know.
I mean, it's just reality getting rewritten. Also, why couldn't they just go find Space Baby Poppy?
That's such a great point. Like I don't know, I don't know why. Like why did they go this route with Poppy to keep her in? I think it would have made so much more sense if Poppy disappeared and it's Ruby remembering Poppy, and then 15
Hmm.
starts to slowly get memories of Poppy, and maybe some glitches here and there where he's like, wait a second, let me chase after her and figure out this mystery of who the heck Poppy is.
Because they know, like, if this doesn't work, she will fade from existence. So maybe if it was even like, oh, the doctor remembers, but let's Belinda forget to like spare her from that pain. It's just
Yeah.
so, but instead, this, they just like completely change Belinda's character and who she is. Like, she's a completely different person now.
And it's just so confusing. And she's so completely different than the Belinda that we have been attached to all
Hmm.
series long. And it's just so odd. Like the shift is odd.
It is.
And I think the whole Ruby thing too in this episode, oh, it gets me going. I need to get this out. So, repeatedly, since Ruby has graced our screen,
All she has
so
done is
repeated
suffer.
because in every reality at some point, Carla and Cherry just refuse to be with her. They're like,
Yeah.
girl, we don't trust you. And it's never warranted for them to say that, by the way. It's just
No.
whatever is happening in whatever reality she's in. So she disappeared from reality and the world in the church on Ruby Road. She had her whole 73 yards adventure, her whole Lucky Day saga and
Ugh.
adventure, the whole Wish World saga and adventure. And she's the only one remembering all these things, not to mention the biggest part of her story in the beginning of her arc is that she's adopted and she never knew her biological parents, and that was something she always, desired to find out. She wanted to meet them and figure it out. And we get this mention of her dad and how that's a crazy story, but we don't really like we
We'll
have
never know what the deal is with Ruby's dad.
exactly. We'll never know his deal. But like there's all of this stuff where it's like she was left at a church. So like at her core, her story is full of abandonment. And that's something the doctor can sympathize with
Hmm.
because the doctor's been abandoned time after time. And for the doctor to know that, understand that, and sympathize with that back then, but not sympathize with her at all in this episode, really made me upset because when she is standing there in unit talking about Poppy, he doesn't even give her the benefit of the doubt like he would any other
It's
companion.
so out of character, and it really takes until
Yeah.
Ruby's like, you know this can happen because you've seen it happen to me. Like, she really has to like shake him, not literally, but it really takes until she's like, you know this can happen to people, you know people can disappear out of reality, you've seen it happen. And just that whole scene of her realizing Poppy has disappeared, and trying she's asking them, she's trying to tell them, is so heartbreaking. That is genuinely such a sad scene. And just watching the doctor and Belinda slowly forget Poppy was so heartbreaking.
Oh,
And
that was awful.
Millie performed that scene so well. Watching the doctor and Belinda just pass Poppy's coat back and forth
Yeah.
and seeing it slowly disappear was crazy. At first, when they were passing the coat, I thought it was like, oh my gosh, like he's passing the coat to her, like telling her she needs to leave with Poppy, and she's
Mm.
passing it back because she's like, no, we're staying. And then I realized it was slowly disappearing and Poppy was disappearing. And it was just so heartbreaking, especially seeing them get so excited and talking about putting railings in the TARDIS and then planning their whole new life and all the things they wanted to show Poppy. That was so cute and so sweet. And I did really love seeing them as parents. I did think that was really interesting and a really
Mhm.
entertaining dynamic. So seeing that get ripped away from them was really painful for me. I just don't like how it gets resolved. One, the doctor's not even part of Poppy's life anymore. He's not her parent at all. And then Belinda gets her entire timeline rewritten and becomes a completely different person and has lost all agency and choice and everything she was.
Yeah. And to harp more on the Ruby thing, as Belinda and 15 are figuring out their plans and talking about going to Neptune and doing all of those things, Ruby is just like an outlier. Like they
Oh
don't
yeah.
incorporate her and add her into the
he
conversation of where she wants to go. They're like, we'll drop you home. Excuse me?
No, that made me so mad. He's like, Belinda, we're gonna go see Neptune, and Ruby's just standing there.
Standing
It's like
there.
watching your friends make plans right in front of you and not include you. It was so heartbreaking. All Ruby does is suffer. She has never not suffered, and then she doesn't even get a proper goodbye
No.
with the doctor. Not at all. Not at all. And
Not a
the
look,
15th
not a
doctor,
doctor
no,
watching her from afar, not not a bit, not a bit. And it's
nothing.
like they really assassinated the character of Belinda and the Doctor and Ruby's relationship.
Like, to
Period.
not have let 15 have a moment with Ruby, his first companion, who he like bonded with because they're both foundlings and orphans. Like,
Yes.
what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah. Also, the whole thing with Ruby and Lucky Day, I shouldn't phrase it like that, but just like Ruby and Lucky Day experiencing literal like PTSD, this whole thing
Hmm.
doesn't make it any better. It makes it 10 times worse because the doctor's just leaving her out and making her feel crazy. And it just drove me up the wall. There were so many choices in this episode that I just don't get and I don't understand. And I don't think that any future plot will ever be able to fix.
No, it's never going to be resolved. Like,
No.
this is over. We're never seeing any of these characters again. which is just so sad because, like I keep saying, there was so much more potential, and I was so hopeful for a season 3 with 15, Ruby, and Belinda, and we should have gotten that. We should have gotten that.
We should have gotten that, and the bag was fumbled
Mhm.
by just whatever happened behind the scenes. And also, they fumbled the Rani. What do you mean
Yes.
Omega ate the Rani and that's how it ended? Where did Mrs. Flood go off to? What was the point of Mrs. Flood if she was just going to stand there to the side being subservient to the Rani?
And then she's the version of the Rani that lives on, and where
Yeah.
yeah, no, that was really disappointing, and we should have gotten more. Like, I before we knew that and Shutigatwa was leaving, like, I really was like, no, we need more of this Doctor and the Rani. Like, this is this era's John Sim Master and David Tennant Doctor. Like, we're gonna see her
Yes.
again. No, we're probably never gonna see that Rani again. Maybe we'll see Mrs. Flood. Probably not. Who knows if they'll even ever bring back the Rani after this? Because
Also, somebody needs to take the CGI controls out of RTD's hands.
yeah, I was really in the moment, I was really gaslighting myself into being like, no, I like the Omega design. And then when I finished it, I was like, no, actually, I don't. And yeah, the Omega appearance really was disappointing. I do love, again, and Shuji is just so good. Like, he really, thank goodness we had him. Only Inchuchi Gatwa could carry these scripts, and because of his performances, make these really rushed scenes feel epic. Because I love him grabbing the Vindicator and being like, I have the power of however billion supernovas. That really was great. I love seeing him
Mm-hmm.
like slowly back up to the Vindicator and be like, oh, wait, like that. Again, great performance from him. But just to have that whole thing wrapped up so quickly, it would have just been better if we never saw Omega at all. Like, we never should have seen Omega. And he should have just used the Vindicator to kind of ensure that Omega was staying in the underworld, and they could have done literally anything else with the Ronnies.
I completely agree. I will say I did enjoy the moment where he's like, yes, like showing his dark side, wanting to see Omega,
Yeah.
wanting to get the tea and seeing all of that. And I felt like that was very Doctor and like very much a side of the Doctor we don't see as often. So I really like that. And Trudy carried that moment, but I don't think Omega should not have been let out of the vault.
I do like the explanation that, like, oh, he became his own legend in the
Yeah.
underworld, but the look wasn't needed. Like, if I had $1 for every time RTD turned a normal sized Classic Who villain into a giant, oversized CGI villain, I'd have 2 nickels or $2. Which is crazy that it happened twice. Like,
Yeah.
why are we just copy pasting, swapping out the names from Empire into the Reality War?
I completely agree. I do want to talk about some moments I did enjoy in this episode because there
Yeah.
were moments I enjoyed. And as much as we have problems with this episode, we do need to give some people their flowers in
Yes.
this episode. Specifically, Mel. Her
Mm.
scene talking about the Ronnie and that moment in unit headquarters was so good. She was
So
so
good.
good.
I loved seeing her go after the Rani. I was really looking forward to that, and it was delivered so great. I do think it was funny her being like, I battled the Rani, and it's like, battle's a strong word, but like, okay.
Well, I
Also,
mean, the Ronnie did like cosplay as Mel
no,
back in
literally.
Classic
Yeah. So,
Who.
like, we'll take it. But I did, yeah, seeing that reunion and seeing her react to the Ronnie, that was great. She did a great job with that scene. I loved that moment.
I also loved the moment when 15 says, Mr. Smith is gone. I am the doctor. That gave me the
Oh,
chills.
yeah.
I'm like,
Seeing
yes, you are.
when he comes down the stairs and drops his coat and then changes in to the outfit that he wears the rest of the episode. That was such a great moment.
Yeah.
And him just like dropping the facade of Conrad's world and like getting his doctor clothes back. That was amazing. That was such an incredible scene. I loved that. Yeah, the beginning of this episode I really enjoy.
Oh, me
Um
too.
Seeing Anita was great. I screamed. I was not
Same.
expecting to see her. I'm glad she's doing so well. She was such a great addition. The scene later when they're in unit and everything's going crazy because of the bone beast and she's like struggling to keep the door open is like so funny. Like, yes, Anita, you keep that door open. It's just so funny.
And I love that we get the update that like she has, she's pregnant and she's happy and she's in a relationship, and I really enjoy that we get that update. And I have always loved the concept of the time hotel, and I really
Yeah.
have no problem with how it's used in this episode, and I love that she was the one who saved 15.
Same. No, it was perfect. And hearing like she would go visit him and see him at different points in his life, that was great. We already said it, but yeah, love seeing Matt Smith. Made me very happy.
A line that made me laugh was when the Ronnie was telling Ruby, "You and your 57 mothers."
Yes, that was great. We finally got the moment of Ruby being like, "That's my neighbor," and Belinda saying, "That's my neighbor." So glad that we
Yeah.
finally got that. And basically, the explanation for Mrs. Flood is that she was just faking it the whole time,
Mhm.
pretending, which, yeah, makes sense. The way I would have done it, because this was my theory the whole time, is that the Ronnie had just grown old as Mrs. Flood and was hiding out on Earth for whatever reason, thinking she's the last of the Time Lords, just having a peaceful life until she sees the TARDIS and is like, oh, wait, the doctor's here. And now she enacts her whole plan. But she was just hiding out in secret the whole time. But I think that would have just been more interesting.
Yeah. So, something in this episode that's brought up that some people have kind of don't love, I really don't mind it. It just really is going to depend on how it turns out in the future of the show. And that's the whole concept of Time Lords now being infertile because of the Spy Master genetically destroying Gallifrey.
I mean, like, maybe they'll do something interesting with that, but like in hindsight, I'm like, what was the point? Like, okay, and what?
Yeah.
What like why are we doing this? And what I don't see anything interesting that could come of this. There's just really no reason to do this.
Yeah.
Like, if I guess if you really need a reason, I know, because the whole thing is Ronnie wants to bring back the Time Lords, so she needs Omega to do that. I guess if I don't even know, guys. I don't even know. I really don't think there's any reason to do that. But again, maybe they'll do something interesting. But honestly, I'm not counting on that to happen at this point. But I did really like the scene of the Doctor and the Ronnie in Europe. In unit, I really did like that scene. Seeing them interact was so. And Shruti and Archie Punjabi, they really played off of each other so well. So sad we'll never see that dynamic again, and it like
Mhm.
didn't really get its full potential here. Oh well. But they played off of each other really well. I really enjoyed her whole scene in unit. I thought that was great. Yeah. I kind of like that the going back to the whole sterile thing, that does give us an explanation for the bi generation. So I guess that's nice.
Something I'm really confused about is Conrad. So, like, did he get his
Yeah.
happy ending after all, or was that just in the reality before the Belinda and Poppy mother daughter reality?
I think we're supposed to believe that he did get a happy ending. Ruby wished for him to be happy, and I guess him being happy is working as a dishwasher, which no judgment. So I guess that's his ending. Yeah, what did you think of that whole scene of Ruby going to visit him and, basically thanking him that his wish world wasn't as bad as it could be?
I didn't completely mind that scene. I liked them being one-on-one again, especially because of the last time we saw them one-on-one back in Lucky at the end of Lucky Day. And so I like that Ruby kind of had that moment of confrontation, and she had that moment where she chose to be the bigger person.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is nice that like she was the one to rescue the baby, the foundling, very serendipitous in that sense, and that she brought, Desiderium, also known now as Joe Sunday, to Carla, which my thought is like, yeah, I know at the end Ruby's like, I wish for there to be no more wishes, essentially, but like, what if something happens and the kid grows up and is suddenly activated again?
I feel like that wouldn't happen.
No, I know that, but it's just like, how do we know that won't happen? Like, you as a
Yeah.
baby, you did the giggle.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, we're gonna have to check in on Joe Sunday. Just make sure everything's all right. But
Yeah.
also, like, Carla didn't ask for this like baby to be
No.
dropped on her doorstep. Like, let her live. Like, she's got her mom. Like, she doesn't need a whole baby. Like,
But also, she is a foster mom, so it makes
yeah,
sense in that
no,
sense.
it makes sense. And like, I guess there's no better place for him to go. But I am just like, okay. For like, I do kind of feel for Carla. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, okay, thanks for this baby, I guess. But I did like the heart to heart between Ruby and Conrad, and her being like, I know some of the moments between us were real, and like, you're not a terrible person. You just wanted everyone to be happy and feel safe. But I think being like, your world wasn't as bad as it could be, like, while that is true, it wasn't a good place for disabled people and
Mm-hmm.
so many other different types of people. So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like,
Like, I see what you mean, but also that wasn't the right thing to
yeah,
say.
yeah. But Millie was great in that, and I do love that she gets to turn the world back to normal, and her wishing for Conrad to be happy, I thought was kind of nice. I don't really have any thoughts or qualms with his resolution. I'm just kind of like, okay, you know,
Yeah. Same.
half the time I keep forgetting, like, in the past 24 hours thinking about this episode, anytime I see something about Conrad, I'm like, oh yeah, Conrad was here. Conrad was a thing
No,
that
same.
happened.
Like, he was the last thing in our list of grievances to even like bring up. Like,
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
last thing. Okay. When 15 shattered the reality glass, I don't even know what that was and what that's supposed to mean.
Oh,
I give
I
up with this
forgot about
show.
that. Yeah.
But when he like woke up in the garden, I was like, is that 14 in Donna's garden? Is he going to somehow like do that resolution with 14?
I was waiting for 14 to show up and be like, I'll die for this thing
Yeah.
with the TARDIS to happen. But no,
No.
no. The fact that Belinda literally has to be like put into a box with Poppy during like the main climax is
Yeah.
crazy.
It's
Like,
like,
as our main companion, like, we literally have to put her in a box. Like, what are we doing here? What are we
what are
doing?
we doing? Like, we had Belinda, in my opinion, has been one of the best newer companions in a while, like in
Hmm.
years. And I love my girl Ruby, don't get it twisted. And you do this at the end of her character arc, you put
She
her in
had
a
so
box.
much potential, and it was completely and utterly wasted.
Yeah, you put her in a box and you change her entire reality. So then we now get these flashback clips of supposedly when she said all of these mentions of Poppy, her daughter, and like Lux and the well. Like, what?
Yeah. If OG Belinda could see what was happening, she'd be horrified. She'd be like, this is
Yeah.
terrible. Like, my whole life has just been rewritten.
And again, it's not necessarily Poppy because there's a lot of Poppy hate. I love my girl Poppy. Don't get
I
it
love Poppy.
wrong. I love her. But Belinda didn't have any agency to choose this at all.
Also,
Like, yeah, she didn't want Poppy to disappear, but she also never at any point was like, rearrange my entire life and delete the old person I used to be.
And the fact too that both with Poppy, like she was so excited to keep traveling and like see
Mhm.
the universe with the Doctor and Poppy, which them talking, I will never move on from that TARDIS scene. I'm there forever. And then after, even when she forgets Poppy existed, she's still like, let's go. Like she's still ready to keep traveling. And then it ends with her being done. And bye, Belinda. Bye, Poppy. Your whole life has been rewritten. You don't remember what actually happened to you. The doctor's no longer Poppy's father. Everything's been rewritten, and it's insane. It's so dark.
And again, why was Joy brought in from Joy to the World as the star? Like, why was that the
Of
choice?
course it was. Of
Why?
course.
Like,
I
when 15
know.
was like, I can't do this alone, I'm like, oh, maybe, I don't know who will pop up, but we'll see. And it was the star. Huh?
And the fact that he like came into this world like surrounded by Kate, by Donna, by 14, by Mel, Shirley,
Surely.
and then he left all alone and didn't get to say goodbye to Ruby. I know I've already said that, but I'm still upset. He didn't get to say goodbye to Ruby.
I still can't get over that fact at all.
No.
And like I was
Um
so excited when all of their like trackers like reactivated them to remember in
yes.
Wish World. And I was like, oh my gosh, Shirley, you were blasting off in your wheelchair. That's such a slave. Like I got so excited. And for 15 not to even say goodbye to any of them.
No. No.
No. Jail.
Speaking of that, I love how one Mel's hair completely changes. Like
Wait,
her
it
ringlet.
does?
Oh yeah, like it's originally it was what it was in Wish World, and then she motorcycles her way into unit and has like super curly hair. That was really random but funny. Kind of love it. And then she's like, I have been a housewife, which she delivered that line in such a fun way. I can almost forgive it, except for the fact that she
She
wasn't a
wasn't.
housewife. It was made a point that she was single.
Yeah.
And I think Bonnie Langford delivers it so well. I'm willing
Yeah.
to forgive it because the way she says it is great. And her reaction and just coming in on her scooter, I loved that. Seeing Ruby and 15 reunite, I loved that. I've been waiting for that all season. Wish we got more, but
Mhm.
okay. Guess that's it. I also just want to like I did really like the Poppy storyline. I loved seeing the Doctor and Belinda as parents. I thought that was really sweet. The Doctor as a father always gets me emotional. Always chokes me up, so I really appreciated it here, and I
Mhm.
believed them. I believed their love for Poppy and their belief in her that she was real. Like I love when Anita says, you know, she's not real, and the doctor's like, don't you dare. And he's so like throughout the episode here reassures Belinda that Poppy's real and that they're gonna keep her safe. Seeing them as parents, literally mom and dad, I did really appreciate that. I think they handled that really well. And it's what made like that scene in the TARDIS when her cot is disappearing and the coat is disappearing all that more painful because we had that great moment of Poppy and Belinda survived. Poppy made it into the real reality, and that was such an exciting moment. Everyone cheering, Ruby so happy for the doctor. Everyone's so happy that he has this child now. He has his family. And then they're planning their whole new life in the TARDIS. You know, they're going to get more railings. They're going to take her to all these places. Ugh, so painful. So painful to have that all taken away.
Mhm.
And then the doctor literally dies to save Poppy. And it's not, I don't want to say it's not worth it, but it's just so sad because it's like she's not even his daughter anymore. And then all the stuff with Belinda, I'm not going to repeat myself for the third time, but all that, it's really sad.
It is so sad. And the part where 15 is talking to Poppy towards the end, and he's like, Poppy, can I tell you a secret? Like, I can't have kids. And like, that scene is so heartbreaking. And
Yeah.
if RTD really wanted to make that the point, I could have been supportive and been like, it is so heartbreaking that like the true reality is like Poppy isn't his. And as far as he doesn't have a kid, except for Ginny from the Doctor's Daughter, which she's never mentioned again. So, disregard. But it's just left in shambles and in a million questions because it's not clear what the point of any of this was.
And that's why, like we kept saying at the beginning, it's so clearly tacked on last minute. It was so clearly changed. Like I said, and other people have said this online, I really feel like this episode was going to end with, the doctor knowing that Poppy disappeared from this reality, like she was never meant to stay, and Belinda forgets, and he just kind of has to bear that alone. And that it's just so sad, and it's really sad that this episode had to change or had to end this way, because we have to have a rushed goodbye with this doctor because he has to leave and regenerate. It's just there was so much more story to tell with this character, so
Yeah.
many loose threads, so many more just individual episodes to be told, so much more to do. Really gone too soon. Gone too soon.
Also, what the heck did Kate mean by saying, sometimes I think we are all your children? Huh?
I kind of liked that. I thought that was sweet.
Okay.
Also, the Susan Triad thing about her being 1 year old, even though in the Legend of Ruby Sunday, like she's full on talking about her parents and like sharing memories of her life growing up, but now she's only a year old. Huh?
Well, the real her is only a year old because she's no longer a harbinger.
Yeah, I guess. The side characters in this show used to be so much more meaningful. Like, I like the side characters. Like, I don't have any beef of Shirley, Abraham, Rose Noble, Susan Dryad, but like comparing this cast of characters to what we had in RTD1 and all those side characters, it just doesn't hit the same. You know what I mean?
No, it does not hit the same.
This era was all supposed to be about fresh blood, fresh ideas, a new start, and it really feels like, what happened to that? What happened to that? Like, why are we just revisiting old faces, old ideas, and like new things are coming in, like with the Pantheon and like all the stories that they got to tell with the 15th Doctor, but yet we're still so insistent on the past. It feels weird. I don't understand the direction for this whole era and what we're doing.
And here's the thing, you all know, if you have been listening since day one, we are Rose Tyler stans,
Yes.
defenders. We always talk about her because she always haunts the narrative. We've always wanted resolution. I've personally always wanted something changed after the whole Tintu situation. You'll hear about my thoughts and Journey's End. This was not the way I wanted any of that to go down
No.
at all, because now it's made into this entirely huge big thing where it's like, why are they revisiting old concepts? Why are we not like staying in the present and looking to the future, and maybe like in a one-off story for whatever reason have Rose reunite with the 14th Doctor and they live happily ever after, and like that's that. But to have Shooty regenerate into Billy Piper,
Yeah.
it's just like shaking my head. And I love Billy Piper. I think she's incredible. I've said this to Rebecca many times off mic, that in an alternate world where she never portrayed Rose Tyler, she would be a phenomenal doctor. She was incredible.
Absolutely.
She is incredible, like in everything she acts in. I don't know where they're going with this. I hope it's something Bad Wolf Time Vortex related and it's
Hmm.
something that's tied up in a pretty bow, but after this, after Empire of Death, I don't have that much faith. And we're getting so few episodes. We had what, 3 Doctor Light episodes in Chudi's run
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
16 episode run.
16 episodes. That's all he got. He was the Doctor for such a short amount of time. It's crazy.
And I am so glad and grateful for the time we got with him, and
Yeah.
I don't want that twisted. Every minute of every episode he's in is amazing and phenomenal, but there could have been so much more. The writing could have been so much better in the latter half of this episode to really honor the 15th Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was just a flop. And I think it's going to be really hard for a lot of people to give RTD the benefit of the doubt in the future, because there have been a lot of doubters, a lot of defenders. You can feel however you want to feel. I know some people loved the ending of this episode,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, for Rebecca, for a lot of other fans, there's a lot of emotions, and none of them are really that great.
Yeah. So when I saw the leaks that Nchuchi was going to regenerate into Billy Piper, I was horrified. I thought nothing so ridiculous could be real. That is fake. Because
Yeah.
I'm sorry, regenerating into your ex is just kind of weird. It's kind
It's
of weird.
bizarre.
It's weird. The implications are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say it is very clear just based off of like the credits and just what like Russell and even Billy have been saying in the media that she is not the 16th Doctor. Like she's clearly going to be Rose Tyler, Bad Wolf, something. And she's come back because, you know, she was the last person to take on the power of the time vortex. And so I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I am excited to see Billy. You know,
Yeah.
like you said, we are Rose Tyler stans first and foremost. If nothing else, we are Rose Tyler stans. So I am excited to see what they do with her. I'm scared because Rose is my favorite character on this show.
Yeah.
Leave her alone. But also I have always wanted her to come back in some way. I've wanted her to come back to get closure with the Doctor in this universe. And now she's come back. We don't even have a Doctor because she's not the
Yeah.
Doctor. So who is the Doctor? And so if she does get to reunite with the Doctor in this universe, it's going to be with a Doctor that we don't know, which is just kind of unsatisfying. Like if you're going to bring the icon Rose Tyler back, it should be with a Doctor that we know and love and are comfortable with, and it should be like, oh, this is so exciting that she gets to meet the 15th Doctor, which would have been so interesting. I would have loved to see Rose in 15, and for 15 to give Rose the closure that she never got from this universe's Doctor. That would have been great. That would have been really interesting. And it's just hard to look forward to the future when we don't know what the future of this show is, because like I said, it's clear they're making it very clear that Billy is not the 16th Doctor. So we don't know who the 16th Doctor is and what they're doing, and it's just kind of hard to look forward to nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I think a big part of it too is there has been like these threads and these mysteries surrounding the 15th Doctor and everything leading up to the like bi generation. There's like been all these question marks and questions and mysteries, and like what about Rogue, and what about Susan, and what about the boss, and what about, you know, what's going to happen with Mrs. Flood. And we got the answer with Mrs. Flood, but we don't have the answer for a lot of other things. So it's like we're putting a pin in all of these mysteries that have been haunting 15's narrative to
Mm-hmm.
have a mega mystery with Billy Piper returning.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's so much, and it's like so overwhelming that it's like, what is the future going to hold? Because obviously, we all know this. The show is not going to get canceled. Like the show is just like not going to not exist. But there is a possibility, a pretty decent possibility, that Disney Plus will no longer be the distributor of it.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what happens with that, whether Disney Plus continues to be the distributor or they just go back to how it was before Disney Plus, it's going to take some time. And it's fine that it will take some time. I honestly do need some time to just breathe. A lot has
See,
happened, but at the same time, I need to know.
the fact that we have so much time does kind of worry me because it's so clear that this was a last minute change. So there's
Yeah.
no real plan. And maybe Russell has a plan. I don't. There's. As of right now, I'm saying there's no plan because this happened so last minute. Anything that was planned for season 3 has to be changed or thrown out the window completely. And we have so much time. Like, we're probably not going to get another season until 2027.
Which is
So
so scary. That's
so we have to sit with
so
this
scary.
ending for so long. We have to sit with this for so long. And I just
Yeah.
don't like that, and I don't like knowing that we don't have a plan and that this was just a last minute, oh, and Chuchi's leaving, so we have to do something, and we don't have time to find like an actual 16th Doctor. So, hey, Billy Piper, come on board, come on back. And again, like, no hate to Billy ever, ever, ever. And I am intrigued to see what they do. I will always be sat for Billy Piper, always sat for Rose Tyler, but the large gap scares me, especially knowing that there just is no plan and this all happened so last minute and we were supposed to have a completely different season 3
Yeah.
and everything that they were building or were building is completely gone out the window.
Yeah, the amount of time it will be until we get a new series is just scary because you never know
Mhm.
actors' commitments and other projects they're deciding on, and to expect a lot of people to kind of just like put their careers on hold
Mhm.
when you don't have any definite plans, that's nerve-wracking. So we will see. Hopefully we get some news in the next couple of months. I'm
Yeah.
hoping we do. But honestly, this just like really ended on a sour note, which is just so unfortunate. And as we have with each season and series of Doctor Who that we finish, we do a recap episode where we talk about the highlights of the season, what we loved, like our favorite outfits. And of course, we'll do that. And I'm sure we'll have a whole section talking about our favorite moments of the 15th Doctor. But right now, it's just still so raw. Um,
Mhm.
I do feel better getting this all out in the open,
Yeah.
but I have never been so upset with the show
Oh yeah.
and like so angry over what they did to characters like with Belinda and with Ruby and what they did with 15's regeneration. Like the timeless child thing did not make me this upset.
Yeah, and as people who have enjoyed this era and have defended this era, to have it end this way, to have the Doctor that we love so much and care about go out this way is just really disappointing. And it really proves all the criticism that this era has correct. It proves everyone right. And it proves that we
Mhm.
do need fresh blood in the writer's room. Like, after watching this, I watched Matt Smith clips to calm down. And that, like, we need to go back to that. We need to go back to new stories, new villains, new monsters, new characters. Go back and stop like looking in the review mirror so much and living in the past. Like,
Yeah.
ugh,
Like
we need new writers, and
we
I
do.
never want to be the person, hating on RTD, saying it's time for him to leave, but unfortunately we need new writers. Like, we have
I
to
think
move forward.
something needs to change. He doesn't have to
Yeah.
leave, but something needs to change. How it's run, however they do, which I know how they do the writing because I've read The Writer's Tale and I've been a
Hmm.
fan of the show for so long. But they need to change that if they want the show to continue.
Yeah, completely.
Normally, we would do star of the show and like what the moral of the story is, and I can't do that. I can't.
I can't. There is no heart of the episode. There is no
No.
moral of the story. There's not. Star of the show, if I had to, gun to my head. Honestly, Ruby. Like, Girl,
Yeah,
hello,
she deserves the
Ruby.
spotlight.
Ruby Sunday, you will always be famous to me. I'm so upset that we will probably never see you again and we didn't get a proper goodbye and all you do is suffer. You have never known a day of peace in your life.
Yeah. Also, of course, we got no answer to the fourth wall breaks.
Yeah, I knew he wouldn't. I don't
I knew
even
we
care
wouldn't
about
either,
that.
but everyone was done so dirty in this episode, and it sinks.
The fact that we spent 2 years of Mrs. Flood build up to this, to have the Rani be eaten by Omega halfway through
Yeah.
the finale, and then we just completely shift courses to something else after spending 2 years wondering who Mrs. Flood is going to be.
No.
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 And do we think David Tennant is showing up in these Billy Piper episodes?
Probably at this point.
I almost don't know how they wouldn't have David Tennant show up.
Yeah, I really don't know either.
We could see 10-2 again. How does that make you feel?
I would leave the show. I'm done. I'm not watching any new episodes. That's where they draw the line.
10-2. That's
First you did this episode and then you
line.
brought back 10-2. No one asked.
It might happen. It might.
Don't put that into the universe, Rebecca.
Yeah, I'm just. What are they gonna do with Billy? Like, why is she here again? Really happy to see, and it is really exciting for us as huge like Rose Tyler Billy stands
that is
to
true.
watch her come back onto the show in real time because we never got to see her time on the show live. We became fans after the 50th, so we never got to be excited over her returning.
Yeah.
So that is exciting, and I am really curious on what they're going to do with her. There's so much potential. There's so much story that they could tell. Do I trust them? No, not at all.
No.
But I am intrigued.
Me too. I think we actually were a lot more coherent than I thought we would be.
Me too.
We literally spent hours last night crashing out together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to state for the record, I watched this in the early afternoon and Rebecca didn't watch this until like what, 8 p.m., 9 p.m.?
Yeah. 8:30.
So I had to keep it a secret the entire day. And it was really, really hard, but that's a part of our history. So I just wanted to say that for the record because keeping this in was impossible. Luckily, one of my siblings graduated the same day, so I was able to be distracted for that. And if it wasn't for that, I would have had to block Rebecca temporarily.
Yeah. And I just want to say, like, if you did really appreciate this episode and enjoy it, like, I get that because up until like the last 15 minutes, up until I realized, oh, they are going to regenerate him.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this episode. I was having a great time.
Me too.
And really, really enjoyed the first part of this episode. And I was even okay with the Omega and the Rani of it all. I was like, okay, fine. It's just losing the 15th Doctor is not something I was prepared for. It's something I was actively unpreparing myself for and convincing myself that wasn't a possibility. Guys, he didn't get to meet the Daleks. He didn't get to meet the Cybermen.
No.
And no master.
Ncuti goes hard for the Daleks. As he should. He's the Doctor.
Why was Joy to the World not a Dalek story? They should have made it a Dalek story.
They should have. Ncuti Gatwa, you are forever in our Doctor Who Hall of Fame. I mean, you are in general, but you're in our Doctor Who Hall of Fame. You're iconic. You're a legend. And we will miss you so much. Like, truly. Like, you were incredible. Thank you for being on the show. I do not blame you for leaving. Again, I want to like reiterate that. I do not blame him or anyone else in this episode. It is not on them at all. Completely understand. I hope he has a marvelous career in the future. I hope like maybe in some years' time he'll come back for a special cameo.
The 70th. Maybe he'll come back for the 70th.
Yeah, exactly. But it would be really nice, as one Twitter user put it, and I unfortunately lost the tweet, so I can't credit the person. But I would love if we would stop losing doctors like the UK keeps losing prime ministers.
Yes. Yeah, that would be great to have. Yeah, like it's so crazy how quickly we've gone from Jody to David to Nchuti to Billy. Like, gone are the days of the Doctor being the Doctor for multiple years and having long, multiple seasons. Like,
Yeah,
we wanted Nchuti to break this 3 season curse, but not like
not like
this.
this. Not like this.
Um, yeah, and honestly, to like be fair to this episode, I think they wrapped up everything the best way they could with what they had. Like, they clearly had
Yeah,
to change everything in a very short time. And once your main actor is leaving, once the Doctor is leaving, not much you can do. And not much you can really there's you can only do so much, with reshoots, so I think they tried to do the best they could. It's just unsatisfying that the 15th Doctor has to go out this way. And again, like, I totally respect Nchuti for leaving. Like, he's very in demand. He's going to do great things. He has great projects coming up, and I'm really excited to see what he does next. And I don't blame him at all for leaving. I would leave too. But to just see a Doctor that we cared about so much have to go out in this way, in such a rushed way, it's just really sad. It's really sad.
it is really sad. And you're right, like there's only so much they can do with the reshoots, but the regeneration scene, the regeneration part could have been done better than it was, even with the
They could
reshoots.
have. I wouldn't. I would have hated this too because it would have been annoying. But they could have just left it on. We don't know who the Doctor will be. Because honestly, yeah, they should have done that. Because
Yeah,
even worst case scenario, the show gets canceled. That leaves it at a perfect place for it to come back in a few years with someone else and have a whole new Doctor take over and do a reboot. And if it does come back, great. You get to start fresh with a brand new face and not have the Doctor regenerate into his ex. Because I'm sorry, it's just weird. It's just a little weird. I'm sorry.
yeah. I think my bigger problem than just that with the regeneration scene is, like I mentioned, the fact that it was joy witnessing him regenerate, and he didn't have that bookend or that closure with anyone or anything. And that's what I'm really sad about. But I feel like we could keep talking about this forever and ever. But I know you have like one more thing you want to say.
I think the regeneration looks really bad. I mean, not really
It,
bad. Like,
okay.
again,
The part specifically where it changes from Shooty's face to Billy Piper's face, that's the part that's bad.
they did Billy so dirty with that shot.
They did.
They did
They
her really
did.
dirty.
They did.
And
And
it
I'm glad you
just,
brought that up because it is an important point.
yeah. It's just like how the I don't know how did we go from like Jodie's beautiful regeneration on the cliff to this, and it just doesn't look
And why
good.
in space?
Why in space? And it just really drags home how last minute this whole was. I hate having to keep saying it, but that's so clearly a driving factor in this whole ending. But yeah, we will have much more to say about this in our wrap up and for the rest of time. But in conclusion, there are good parts of this episode, and maybe
There
at a
are.
later date we can appreciate those things more. Like I said, I really liked Mel. I really liked
Mm-hmm.
Ruby. I liked the Poppy storyline. I love the TARDIS scene with
Yes.
Belinda, Ruby, and 15. Great. Loved that. Archie Punjabi is great. I love the scene of her and the Doctor at unit. I love them getting ready to go confront Omega. That's all great. I'm really sad to see the 15th Doctor leave. I'm really sad that he's gone. I respect it from all the people involved. It's just sad. It's just sad. And I'm in mourning, and I will be in mourning for the rest of time.
Me too. But with that, we will conclude this episode. Again, our wrap-up episode will be posted next week, and we'll talk more about this then. But we will be taking a summer vacation break,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll talk more about that next week. But thank you guys so much for listening to us. Mourn 15. We will continue to mourn, like you said, Rebecca. But don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at TimeyWimeyPod. We're so close to 1,000 followers.
Yes, please follow us and let us know how you guys are feeling about this finale. Send us some emails and maybe we'll read them in our wrap up. DM us on Instagram. Let's all talk this out and have therapy together. You can email us anything and everything to timeywimeypod@gmail.com.
And we will talk to you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Bye. Ta-ra.
Ta-ra.